Hello again, everyone, and thanks for joining us for this Friday's edition of Alaska Weather on the 16th day of October 2020. I'm Dave Percy, a meteorologist with the National Weather Service, hosting today's show. We've got warnings out, very active frontal boundary edging its way eastward across southern Chukchi Sea and the Bering Sea, and as a result, high wind warnings are out, and St. Lawrence Island under a high wind warning today with seeing winds gusting 40 to 60 miles an hour out of the south and southeast. That's out until 4 p.m. this afternoon. In fact, winds have already come down to about 15 to 20 miles an hour as reported at Gamble and Savunga. So actually it's probably ended at this time, due out until 4 p.m. though, so that's just another hour. And also out until 4 p.m. for the western or the southwestern, the southern part of the Seward Peninsula there of the highlighted areas. Shishmaref, though, on the north side, high wind warning out until 10 p.m. this evening. Northwest coast there, Kivalina up to Point Hope, Cape Lisburne. Expect strong winds to continue until 10 p.m. this Wednesday. And kind of a mix of high wind warnings out along the coast. Winter storm warning over the inland areas in Otak Valley in toward Ambler. But look for strong winds as well with the snow and blowing snow this evening until 10 p.m. for Ambler, the greater Ambler area, and the greater Noatak Valley area as well, with reduced visibilities in the blowing snow. And for the remainder of the state, no watches, warnings, or advisories out. The front not really strong enough, and of course precipitation in the form of rain down toward the Pribilofs and over the eastern southeast Bering Sea today, with lighter winds as well. On the chart, you can see that front edging its way eastward there. The main low center back still over the Russian Far East, but just about to jump into the northwest Bering Sea, moving slowly, but the clouds extending all the way down to the eastern Aleutians. And then it takes the cold front back to the west, just passing Adak this afternoon. There's some clearing behind that. Amchitka, Kiska, a few showers moving into Shemya. And band of cirrus coming into Cook Inlet, northern Kuskokwim Valley, up across the Yukon there, hooking up with the thicker clouds and precipitation and rain, or not rain, wind up over the northwest part of the state. Peak wind gusts, Tin City today, strongest gust I could find, 67 miles, well actually, no it wasn't, 67 miles an hour at Tin City. Strongest wind gust was, after I looked at that, I found 77 miles an hour at Cape Lisburne. And Red Dog Dock had 72 miles an hour. It's a pretty good wind producer. This system has been a pretty good wind producer and not that great of a precipitation producer. Just 0.07 of an inch falling at St. George Island. Dutch Harbor picked about 0.4 of an inch. Those 12-hour amounts ending at 3 p.m. this afternoon. And elsewhere, up across Seward Peninsula, just 1/100th is about it, water equivalent-wise, as far as the precipitation goes. So it's much more of a wind than precip producer up there with the Kivalina seeing winds gusting 53 miles an hour. Kotzebue, pretty windy today with gusts near 50 miles an hour and about 45 miles an hour there in Nome to Gullivan. And then the winds diminish. You go down the coastline there about, say, gust 35, Hooper Bay, Tuksuk Bay, and even lighter down across the Pribilofs and the eastern Aleutians. Clear skies, it looks like, for Bristol Bay, Kodiak Island, very nice day today, even south central Alaska up into the central and eastern interior. The pretty strong area of high pressure dominating the area. Upper level system, though, dropping southeastward, still clipping the eastern interior, especially down toward Northway and Tok with some possible snow showers. Most of that action over in Canada now, and some shower activity over the Panhandle, all due to that upper level system there over the Yukon. And you can see that front edging slowly eastward. On the chart today, the snow and blowing snow associated with a very tight gradient, and the temperature is still in the mid-20s there, say at Kotzebue, but near 40 this afternoon at Nome. So mixed rain and snow became just rain and tending to taper off. And again, mounts not very significant at all up there. Even along the coast, very light precipitation amounts here and there with increasing winds, 35 miles an hour, mainly Yukon Delta coast, much lighter for the Kuskokwim Delta area. And Bristol Bay, light winds, Kodiak, some sunshine, and 1,042 millibar low there, right very close to Dawson, and light winds over the eastern interior. But we had 40 mile an hour wind gusts as far inland as Shaktoolik, and then they drop off from there as you head east due to lack of a gradient, but not bad up over the eastern Arctic coast. And the central Arctic coast seeing winds approaching 40 miles an hour. They're gradually increasing there as well. And some sun breaks, though, for Kodiak Island, North Gulf Coast, variably cloudy to mostly clear. And some showers over the Panhandle, central northern areas, but nothing really significant. And you can see the cold front coming back across the central Aleutians there, as I mentioned, just passing Adak. Quite weak, in fact, just dropped the cold front, trough over the western Aleutians. Another surge comes around that 998 millibar low, and that'll keep it breezy for the western Aleutians. Look for periods of rain, clouds, lower flying conditions, VFR, and some clearing for the central Aleutians behind that trough that's following the front or almost catching up to it. Winds coming down. Again, the wind warnings, winter storm warnings end at 10 p.m. this evening up over the northwest coast, and even earlier have already ended actually for the Seward Peninsula area, and the Bering Strait will in the next hour or two. And precipitation still expected to not amount to too much on the light side there, mostly in the form of snow northwest coast, but light snow, still a mix possible. Seward Peninsula, if it occurs at all, with some areas of rain along the frontal boundary from the Yukon-Kuskokwim Delta coast into Nunivak Island, all the way down and increasing areas, chances of light rain for the Alaska Peninsula, and not much of an increase in the winds, maybe gusts 30 miles an hour, say at Cold Bay, otherwise lighter than that elsewhere. And light rain trending towards showers for the eastern Aleutians, especially Nikolsky. And still variable clouds, Kodiak Island, that low to the south, starting to build the moisture up to the east, but those showers should stay east of the island tonight. Easterly flow, east-southeast flow there across the Gulf, probably could bring some clouds. Southern Kenai Peninsula, southern Cook Inlet, but should be non-shower type clouds, and mostly clear over the interior and rather chilly. Again, especially in the wind-shouldered areas. Outflow winds continue North Gulf Coast, seeing gusts 50 miles an hour at Valdez, for example. Copper River Delta, same thing. And gradient tightening over the Panhandle. And so gusty north and northeast winds, but dry as showers shift off to the southeast, become light and scattered, very light and scattered, and mostly action in Canada. For tomorrow, that front really weakens along the coast, barely moves inland, holds together enough though for periods of rain, but much lighter winds, periods of light rain, Alaska Peninsula, especially the Togiak Bay area, Dillingham, chance of rain, Yukon-Kuskokwim Delta to the Kuskokwim Mountains. It's going to have a hard time even jumping the Kuskokwim Mountains there into the valley, but definitely an increase in the clouds and increasing chances of precipitation in the afternoon. Sleet Mute, McGrath, Nikolai. And some moisture does sneak in the form of rain or snow showers, depending on your elevation, time of day, into the west central interior there, and possibly the western Alaska range. Showers actually pop up there, southern Cook Inlet, Barren Islands, Kamishak Bay. Stays clear and chilly, eastern central interior. Chance of rain, southern southeast coast in the afternoon due to that low center approaching the Queen Charlottes. Troughs out on Sunday, still a chance of some moisture, southern Panhandle. Risk of a shower along the north coast area, and otherwise generally mostly cloudy. Remnants of that front brings some light snow or snow showers into the central interior, back up across the Kobuk Valley, and maybe some rain and snow showers crossing the Susitna Valley there into the Talkeetna Mountains, but generally dry for the Kenai Peninsula, eastern North Gulf Coast. Weak trough brings chance of rain to the southwest coast, rain or snow showers possible, Seward Peninsula and the northwest coastal areas. Lows tonight, 5 to 15 below over the eastern interior, light winds and clear skies there, but much milder as you head west up to 40, upper 30s near 40, say with 40 at Nome. And then the highs tomorrow, 40 to 45 southwest interior, 45 to 50 Alaska Peninsula, Kodiak Island, and the Panhandle. Upper 20s, Tanana Valley, and lower 40s south central Alaska, followed by lows Sunday morning. Milder in the east there, staying above zero, say 0 to 10 for your lows, and in the 30s out to the west. Arctic coast, lower to mid-teens on the east side, and mid-20s to lower 30s on the west side. South central Alaska, 20 to 30. Tanana Valley, 15 to 25, and 20s to mid-30s for the Panhandle. Highs Sunday afternoon. Teens and 20s, central and eastern interior, Arctic coast north slope, 40 to 45, southwest coast Bristol Bay, upper 40s Alaska Peninsula, and in the 40s for the Panhandle, mid to upper 30s south central Alaska.
And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Moving into flying weather, and we've got up north there some pretty good VFR along most of the Arctic coast, all of the north slope into the Brooks Range. The lower conditions well, from the western Arctic coast there, and along the northwest coast especially with the southerly flow to about Cape Lisburne, IFR through the Bering Strait and south side of the Seward Peninsula. But that becomes VFR, eastern Norton Sound and Norton Bay. But IFR down to the northern Yukon Delta, and a narrow band of IFR just barely touching Nunivak Island, extending down and slowly edging eastward across the Fox Islands. Later tonight into tomorrow morning, but some good VFR out behind that for the Pribilofs, central western Aleutians, and just about all the Bering Sea. Then VFR, Bristol Bay, marginal VFR creeping up into Kodiak Island, not quite making it Fognak Island, but good VFR, central eastern interior, North Gulf Coast, all of the Panhandle. And for Saturday afternoon, no change for the southeast coast, North Gulf Coast, showing some marginal VFR along the southern Kenai Peninsula, staying out of Prince William Sound for the most part, and good VFR central eastern interior, North Slope Arctic Coast, VFR, and some IFR around St. Lawrence Island and some southern Seward Peninsula and over the southwest hills and mountains there. Otherwise, marginal VFR for the west coast, and that becomes kind of a mixture of VFR with some marginal VFR there for the central western Bering Sea, and the Aleutians looking really good, but marginal VFR for the Fox Islands on up to Kodiak Island. And for Sunday morning, IFR, Alaska Range, definitely for the Kuskokwim Valley there, northward into the Kobuk Valley, the IFR zone goes, and extending back to the west into the deltas and south coast of Norton Sound and Lotto Hills, northern Bristol Bay and along the Aleutian Range. Marginal VFR, Montague Island, western Gulf of Alaska offshore areas across southern Cook Inlet, southern Kenai Peninsula, Kachemak and Kamishak Bays, Kodiak Island, marginal, Alaska Peninsula, marginal, and the Aleutians marginal from Unalaska Island to Amchitka, and then VFR for Kiska, Shimei, and Attu, and marginal for the Pribilofs. Sunday afternoon, a few VFR zones show up out over the Bering Sea and the central Aleutians, Adak and Atka VFR to Nikolsky, maybe on Alaska if you're lucky, otherwise marginal. IFR, Shimei and Attu, and a zone of IFR there, western Bristol Bay, well, far western Bristol Bay, southeast Bering Sea, not too significant though. And the Yukon Delta, IFR across western Norton Sound, southern Seward Peninsula, including Nome and White Mountain, with IFR, St. Lawrence Island, northwest coast to Cape Lisburne and Point Hope. Not too bad generally for the North Slope and the Arctic coast, eastern interior, VFR. On down to the eastern North Gulf Coast, Madanuska Valley, and most of the Susitna Valley VFR, and VFR all the way down to Dixon Entrance across the southeast coast. And Atuvik, VFR tomorrow for Saturday. Same forecast for Radigan. Good VFR day coming up there. Lake Clark and Merrill, VFR possibly becoming marginal VFR, mostly on the eastern entrances of the passes tomorrow afternoon with some moisture slipping on up. And for rainy, I think it'll stay VFR the entire day tomorrow. And good VFR for windy. Mintasta and Isabel, both VFR for the day tomorrow. For Saturday, flying weather for Tanita on Saturday. Same forecast, VFR. And VFR for Portage as well. Both approaches the entire day. Chilkoot and White, VFR. Freezing levels, 2,000 feet there, central northwest Bering Sea, north and northwest of the Pribilofs, 4,000 feet well south of the Aleutians, 2,000 feet kind of meandering across southwest interior, but south of the Kenai Peninsula in across the southern Panhandle. Icing, most of the moisture sliding into the south of that system there for the Panhandle, but some of that will nudge its way far enough north. You could get some areas of isolated, very isolated, moderate rime icing there, mainly Prince of Wales Island, Annette, and Metlakatla, none to the north, and then the front coming into the west there, so there'll be some areas of icing, mostly of the rime variety, from heaviest southern Seward Peninsula, probably of the moderate type as far as intensity goes for the Togiak Bay area into Kuskokwim Bay and the southwest mountains along the Alaska Peninsula. Jet stream, the whole pattern shifting eastward, the upper level low pulling away today, upper high moving to south central Alaska tomorrow, and the southerly jet along the west coast, 90 to 95 knots. 3,000 feet, southerlies west coast, light winds over the eastern interior, and same pattern 3,000 feet, and turbulence light to isolated moderate chop from Kuskokwim Bay across eastern Norton Sound into the northwest interior.
Welcome back to another edition of Alaska Weather Facts. I'm meteorologist Dave Snyder, and joining me once again is Eric Stevens from GINA, the Geographic Information Network of Alaska, based up at the University of Alaska Fairbanks. Eric, welcome back to the program.
Hey, I'm glad to be here.
And once again, you brought some wonderful satellite pictures to show us and do a little show and tell about. It's just amazing. I can get lost in satellite pictures all day. What did you bring today?
Right. Well, weather satellites, what are they good for? Yeah. Of course, there's the pretty pictures that they bring us. You know, we've got a picture here from April of 2012. Okay. The SUMI NPP satellite, it's what they call a polar orbiter, which means it covers Alaska because we're near the pole. Beautiful image. You can see a storm off of southeast Alaska, the sea ice along the Bering Sea up into the Arctic. A really nice picture, and this is important because it allows a forecaster to see where the storms are, where the ice is, where the clear areas are. You need to know where the weather is now if you're going to forecast it into the future. Exactly. So satellites give us these good pictures. This is called surveillance of the weather. And you know, that same satellite also has another picture from a little more recently, August of 2014, Tropical Storm Iselle bearing down on the Hawaiian Islands. Hawaii doesn't get hit by a whole lot of tropical storms or hurricanes. Sometimes it does. And here's a picture from the same satellite, the SUMI NPP Polar Orbiter. It shows Tropical Storm Iselle approaching the Hawaiian Islands from the southeast. You can see the storm swirling away there, and then there's the Hawaiian Islands. This is a tropical storm, not quite as strong as a hurricane because we don't see the eye wall in there. This is still a serious weather system. And all of this information comes just from that satellite picture. It's so much information, and it's wonderful to look at. You see the beauty and the awe of nature right there depicted in that weather satellite. We call it a polar orbiter because the satellite flies high over the globe. Maybe we could look here at we happen to bring the planet Earth with us. This is our satellite. A polar orbit flies really close to the Earth, maybe 800 kilometers over the Earth, and goes up over the pole and then back down, and then the Earth spins under the satellite as it goes by. That's in contrast to the geostationary birds, which are much further out. And they don't view Alaska quite as well. So we love those polar orbiter satellites here in Alaska.
So when we're a lot closer, we get much better details and imagery and an idea of a better maybe position of what's going on when it's passing right over Alaska or right over Hawaii.
Yes, exactly right. The polar orbiter gives such a good view of places like Alaska. And because it's close to the planet, there's another aspect of satellites in the polar orbit that is helpful for weather forecasting. It's an aspect that's maybe not as immediately obvious as the pretty pictures that we see. And that is the capacity for the satellite to produce what's called a sounding. That is finding the vertical profile of temperature and moisture in the atmosphere. We've all heard of weather balloons. Weather balloons are launched here in Alaska twice a day at a number of airports, everywhere from Barrow to St. Paul Island to Kodiak, Anchorage and Fairbanks, Yakutat, a number of places. Launch these balloons, and we've got a picture of a balloon being launched at an airport, and the balloon goes up. It's pulling a little package, an instrument package with it that reports temperature, pressure, humidity data back, and we use that information to help feed what are called numerical weather prediction models.
The models.
The models, right. It's a mouthful, so we just call it the models. And these computer simulations, these models, are computer programs that simulate the motion of the atmosphere. Well, how does a model know what the future will be like? You have to tell the model what things are like now. And you give it all kinds of information, including information from these satellite sounders. Very important. Just how important are they? We have a comparatively recent study that really brings home, and this is Superstorm Sandy. We have a track image here of the track of Hurricane Sandy. It was down in the Caribbean around Cuba, and then it moved north over the ocean, offshore of the eastern seaboard, and then at the last minute, Sandy made what's called the left hook. It turned hard to the left and slammed into New Jersey. It was a major problem for the mid-Atlantic states, a calamity. It fused with another weather system and became known, this is not an official title, but Superstorm Sandy. It was quite the weather event. Well, the modelers, after the event, there's a group of modelers in Europe. They have a very good model, a frustratingly good model if you're the Americans trying to pursue their excellence. They reran their model afterwards in what's called a data denial study, where they kept everything the same. So this is 6 months after Sandy, but they went back, they reran the same model, they fed the model the same initial conditions, that is telling the model, okay, here's where we think Sandy is, down near Cuba in the Caribbean. Everything was the same as it was in the real forecast, except they didn't let the model know.
No satellite data.
No satellite data.
Okay.
So we're going to put that over here. No
Yeah.
satellite data for you. The resulting forecast 5 days out,
Yeah.
back when the real Sandy was happening and the model had the satellite data, the forecast was pretty good. We've got a graphic here on the left side. We show the forecast of where Sandy would be, and that's the red bullseye on the left. It's just south of where it actually wound up hitting. Not a bad forecast from this computer simulation, 120 hours out. On the right, you see the same model, but it didn't have the satellite data to help it understand things. And the storm is way offshore. It misses. The forecast is more accurate when the model has the satellite data. So that's the idea today we want to convey is weather satellites. They're important because they show us the pictures of where storms are. We see good examples of this. Yeah, the surveillance right now, it's great to look at those pictures. And in addition, behind the scenes, maybe not immediately obvious, but the models have to have that satellite data for them to be good forecasts. And then a meteorologist uses that information to help everyone with the forecast of where the storms will be in the future.
That is fascinating information that we can look at, see where things have been, because you can't know where you're going if you don't know where you've been. That's that old adage there. But seeing that satellites are actually helping us move forward in the weather information system is pretty amazing stuff.
You bet.
And if you want to check out Eric's satellite images that he's been talking about, whether that's something from today or last week or even much further back in Alaska history, you can easily do that yourself. Go to www.gina.alaska.edu and you can find those images there. Eric, thanks so much for joining us once again. And again, we will join you hopefully again soon for another edition of Alaska Weather Facts, where you'll tell us more really cool information about the satellites over our heads in Alaska. Thanks for joining us tonight, and we'll see you next time.
And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Welcome back. Looking at today's sea ice analysis there. Still got the newer ice showing up, especially inside the Barrier Islands on the eastern Arctic coast, but extending all the way to the central coast, Point Barrow. Areas of there on the west side, but that area on the west side there, actually the entire stretch, probably in the process now of getting just blown away. And so that'll probably be gone on the analysis tomorrow. And probably not much movement, significant movement of the main ice field there farther to the north over the Beaufort Sea. And for coastal water forecast for the Panhandle, south coast, east-northeast, 20 knots, seas 7 feet, and 20-25 knot northeast winds on the north coast, seas 6 to 7 feet. Gales tomorrow, outflow winds, Lynn Canal, Glacier Bay, sustained 35 knots, definitely higher gusts, say Eldred Rock, maybe 15 knots possibly. And for Stevens Passage, north 20 with 4-foot seas, lighter winds for Clarence Strait, north of 15, seas 3 feet. For Sunday, Lynn Canal really dropping off there. In fact, the central northern inside waters, you call it variable winds, 10 knots, seas 2 feet or less. Southeast 15 for Clarence Strait. And the south coast, west winds, 15 knots, seas 7 feet. North coast, south to southeast breeze, 10 to 15 knots with 6-foot seas. Prince William's, excuse me. Prince William Sound, northeast winds 10 knots with seas at 2 feet. And small craft advisories, North Gulf Coast. East winds 25 knots with 7-foot seas. East 25 for the Barren Islands, seas 6 feet. And Kamishak Bay, east winds 25 knots with 5-foot seas. Cook Inlet, northeast of 15, seas 3 to 4 feet. And for Sunday, for the inlet, north winds pretty light, 10 knots, 3-foot seas or less. And Kamishak Bay, north at 15 with 3-foot seas. Barren Islands, northerlies at 20. Western North Gulf Coast, northwest at 20. Light winds for Prince William Sound, variable to north or so at 10 knots, light seas. Eastern North Gulf Coast, Middleton Island area, north at 15. And for Kodiak Island, east side, northeast 15, Shelikof Strait, east at 20 knots. And for the Alaska Peninsula, southerlies, 20 knots, 8 to 10-foot seas. And from Sitkinak to Castle Cape, winds will be, excuse me, east at 10 knots with 5-foot seas. And for the Alaska Peninsula, small craft advisories, west winds 25 knots, seas 8 feet, and 20 knots out of the northwest for the east side of Kodiak, southwest 15 for for Bristol Bay. And for the Fox Islands tomorrow, specifically Unalaska Island, west-northwest at 20, Unmak Island, west-northwest 15, seas both areas 7 to 10 feet. 20-25 knot southwest winds, Adak and Atka, with small craft advisories at 25 for Amchitka, pick up to about 30 knots for Kiska, Shimi, and Attu out of the west. but come back down 20 knots, 9-foot seas for the western Aleutians and west 20 Amchitka Island, with winds westerly 20 to 25 for the central Aleutians and the Fox Islands, west winds 25 knots, seas 8 to 10 feet. And for the Norton Sound area, St. Lawrence Island, southeast winds 30 knots, good for small craft advisories. And the southwest coast, south to southwest 25 knots. Southwest 15 for the Pribilofs, 20 knots for St. Matthew Island. And for Sunday, we've got 20-knot winds for Norton Sound from the south. Same thing for St. Lawrence Island, west-southwest 20 knots along the southwest coast. West 20, St. Matthew Island, 8-foot seas. St. George, St. Paul, southwest 20, 9-foot seas. Eastern Boulevard Sea Coast, east-southeast winds, 20 knots, about the same for the central coast, southeast 20, seas 6 feet. Then they pick up as you head west, especially from Point Lay on down, 25 knots there for the far western Arctic coast, and then full gales there, Cape Beaufort to Wales, or Cape Beaufort to Cape Thompson to Wales, southeast 35. And small craft advisories, Wales to Cape Beaufort, southeast, 20 to 25 knots, 20-knot winds from the southeast, central, and west side, east at 20. For tonight, winter storm warnings and high wind warnings end at 10 p.m. there, where they're out for the northwest coast. In toward the Kobuk Valley, that's winds gusting anywhere from 40 to 60 miles an hour, but diminishing, trending down, and will be down below warning levels at least by 10 p.m. and already have ended there for St. Lawrence Island, with areas of rain as the front weakens along the coast. High pressure, clear skies, kind of chilling on the temperatures for the interior, and outflow winds North Gulf Coast, 50 miles plus miles per hour. And increasing winds to gale force for the northern panhandle, otherwise diminishing showers down to the south. That front weakens, holds together enough for some light precipitation to come into the Seward Peninsula or continue Seward Peninsula southwest areas. And the remnants of that bring some snow showers in the central interior on Sunday and Sunday afternoon.
These forecasts are for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating.